Book Devotion, Patti Smith, Chapter 4. It was the first day of spring. The light streamed into her window and spread across her coverlet. There were pictures of Eva Praulick taped on the wall over her bed. Her skates were hanging from the hook beckoning, but the ice was already melting. She made herself some cocoa, then unfolded a small blanket she kept in a basket in the corner of her room. Irina had given it to her on the morning of her 13th birthday, having saved it through the years, waiting for the right moment. The blanket had been made for her by her mother, and pinned to it was a letter written by her father. At the time she could not read it, but she studied language, translated it, and read it over and over. He wrote of lifting her in the air and delighting in the fact that she had his mother's eyes, deep brown eyes that seemed to contain everything. The blanket was like a soft peach and had tiny flowers stitched on the edges. "Thank you, mother," she whispered. "Thank you, father." Eugenia mended Irina's old knit sweater, finding a long strand of her hair, and wondered if she would ever come back. Irina had raised her and harbored all there was to know of their history. It had always been difficult to draw anything out of her, tough sometimes, dull sometimes. When she had too much vodka, she would speak about the song of the wolves, the ice-covered trees, or the scent of the pink and white flowers that covered everything in spring, but nothing of her mother and father. Eugenia often searched for answers in the cold eyes of Irina. "Don't look for your mother in me," she would say. "You must find her in yourself." "Do I look like her?" "I really couldn't say," she would answer impatiently, applying her lipstick. "But have I her hair?" "Yes, yes." "Do I have eyes like my father?" "Don't look back, Eugenia," she would counsel, slipping on her foxstole. "Everything is before us." "Now I have a coat finer than hers," she thought ruefully. But she would have given it gladly for just one little piece of the puzzle. She had nothing save a recurring dream, like a moving still from a grainy film. Her mother shading her eyes from the sun, and sheets unfurling on a line. Though separated too young for it to be a true memory, she clung to a rated too young for it to be a true memory. She clung to it if it were. She stitched together any passing reference, simple recollection, new facet on the old story, entreating Irina to offer up some new small patch for a fragile quilt that added up to herself. She never asked for love, nor longed for affection, had no experience with boys, no even adolescent kisses. She only wished to know who she was and to skate. That was all she desired. Eugenia took the card from her coat pocket. He had offered her everything: her own trainer, fine skates, a place to practice as much as she wanted. She laid the card on the table, tracing her finger over his name, Alexander Rifa, embossed in bold script, with an address written in hand beneath. His name was Alexander, but to her he would always be him. That afternoon he had opened the door and found her before him, small and defiant. "Today is my birthday," she said. "I am 16." He welcomed her into the suite of room, displaying his worldly goods, precious icons, ivory crucifixes, heavy strands of pearls, trunks brimming with embroidered silks, and rare manuscripts. He offered her anything she desired. "I don't care about your fortune. Perhaps a token for your birthday." I only want to skate. That is why I am here." He paused before a glass case housing an elaborately enabled egg. In spite of herself she was drawn to it, and he unlocked the case and set it before her. "Open it," he said. It was a gift from the Czar to an empress. Inside was a tiny imperial coach, perfectly wrought in gold. He placed the coach in her hand, watching her reaction. "Guess my name," she said. "There are many names." "But I have the name of a queen." "There are many queens." She followed him into the bedroom. She stood in silence and he slowly removed her clothes. But he could feel her pulse quicken. He took her slowly, surprisingly gentle, comforting her as she cried out in pain. He took her again in the night, arousing in her unexpressed and startling appetite for pleasure. In the morning, he removed the sheet spread with a blood moth stain. "This room will be yours if you wish it. I will have someone buy you new sheets." "No, no, I will buy my own sheets." He made her breakfast as she washed. She approached him expectantly. "I knew you were trouble when I saw you walking towards me," he said. "I felt you as you brushed against my coat." "I did not see you then. Perhaps you felt me as I felt you." "No, I felt nothing." "Youth can be cruel," he mused, but he also knew how to make her suffer. He pressed against her and told her he had to go, whispering the name he has given her, Philadelphia. "Why Philadelphia?" "Because," he breathed into her ear, "it was once a hotbed for freedom." She leaned against the wall. "I want the contents of the little pouch you wear around your neck." She was suddenly as if in retaliation. Startled, he hesitated, but could not refuse her. "They are worthless souvenirs, just small screws and a fire pin of the old rifle." "It must be important." "It was the rifle of a poet." Where is it?" "It is somewhere safe, far away. I removed the screws so no one could use it. Without them, it's useless as a weapon. The pouch is stitched." "Give it to me." "That's what you want?" "Yes." "Are you certain?" "Yes," she said unflinchingly. "Then I must one day give you the rifle as well." "As you wish." "You are killing me," he said. "You are killing me," she returned. He left a large sum of money on the slip of paper. "Go to this address and buy new sheets, this kind," and she wrote the name on the back of the kissed her again. It took her a while to find the shop. There were long shelves with every kind of sheets imagined, but she gravitated towards a glass case fitted with robes and pyjamas in flesh-colored silk. Instead of sheets, she chose a simple chemise from the case, using half the money, and then took a trolley to the entirely different sector. Then was a small resale shop that sold bedding for various Chinese laundries. After a long search, she found a slightly worn set of sheets with the name he had written on a tag. Italian sheets, slightly frayed, but they were much nicer than any sheets she had known. After buying the sheets, she stopped at a small restaurant and ordered her own steak, a big one, and a large mug of coffee. Every so often she would touch the little sack just below the hollow of her throat. "It cost me a lot," she was thinking, not with regret, but with pride. "That is how I became Philadelphia," she wrote later in her journal. "Like the city of freedom, yet I was not free. Hunger it is unwarden." He returned to her with small gifts, a pale rose sweater and a medal of St. Catherine, the patron saint of Estonia. But what she liked best was a magazine with pictures of the ice skaters, with Sonia Henny on the cover. For a while she seemed strangely indolent and luxuriously compliant, allowing herself to be transported by the pollens of spring. In their language nights they glimpsed into another world. He spoke of a privileged life, his father a diplomat, his mother from a prominent Swiss family, privately tutored and excelled in languages, and was socially impeccable, yet internally restless, consumed by the desire to tear everything apart and rearrange according to his own design. He found solace in the poet Rimbaud, who did so with words. "Is he your poet, Rimbaud?" she asked, touching the little pouch. Alexander gravitated towards the arts, but acceded to his father's demands, studying engineering in Vienna. He was unhappy there, turned his back on his father and joined the resistance in France. He came to understand that tearing the things apart was a powerful aspect of human nature. He explored on his own and followed the poet's footsteps from the Gotthard Pass and the Abyssinian Plain. He read her passages from Une Saison en Enfer. She lay beside him, picturing the young Alexander leaving the university as she had left her academy. The hypnotic sound of her voice lured her to sleep. His voice. He continued to read, then placed the book aside to look at her, small and glowing with a trace of dampness below her navel, and was moved to rouse her from her slumber. All of nature awakened, flourished. Eugenia told him her stories, and she had written in her exercise book, answering his questions in lifting monotone, as an impassive voice over from the phantom existence. "Were you close to your father?" "I never knew either of my parents. They were deported from Estonia in the spring to the Siberian work camp." "For what reason?" "No reason is required for the herding of people like sheep. A story full of holes. Some things melt before they become memories. I remember trains, I remember new languages that I swiftly grasped. My Aunt Irina sitting before a mirror, with her head tilted, brushing her hair. Tell me of Irina. She raised me, yet remains a mystery. She dreamed of going to America to be an actress, but the war changed everything. She had a beau who was more than twice her age, who was taking her away, and my father begged him to take me as well. We crossed several borders and settled in Switzerland under his protection. He already had a family, but he was as kind as he was rich. He bought me dresses and Irina a gold charm bracelet. My mother's sister was beautiful, beautiful. How else could she win a man so kind? He indulged her in her moods, and was moved by her uncomplicated delight with each new gift. I was 5 when he took us to an ice pageant. Never had I seen something so wonderful, and yet I couldn't stop crying. I wanted to be her, the girl in the center of the ice. Even that young I knew that was my destiny. I could speak many languages by ear. I excelled in school, yet nothing before skating gave me the tools to express the inexpressible. The world outside was rebuilding, but we lived in a bubble, and I was too young to know of such things. After Martin died, Irina never brought anyone home. Even so often she would disappear, but she always returned. Not long after my 14th birthday, she brought Frank home. Frank, is he a good man? He is good for Irina, that I believe, as handsome as she is beautiful. Frank was an overseer in a construction company and has made a good living after the war. He made Irina laugh. He had to go away a lot for work, but when she was there, things were better. Not long ago I grew out of my skates and took money from his pocket and bought a used pair, a bit too big, but good quality with fine blades. Irina asked me where I got the money, and I told her. I thought Frank would be mad, but he wasn't. Let me see them, he said. I told him they were a bit big, but I stuffed the tools. Frank removed the blades and took them into town to have them sharpened. That's the way he was. Irina was different with him than with Martin. She took off his shoes and rubbed his feet. Perhaps she was happy. Were you jealous of Irina? Jealous? Why? Why should I be jealous? Irina cannot skate? She got up for a moment and removed her slip. He lay on the bed, waiting. He gripped her hips slowly. Philadelphia. When she cried out to turn her and she saw the smear in his dirty hands. She saw Irina's white lace glove. Outside, she bells were tolling. She was swimming in filth, utterly lost.